see you, hater. My motivator. Y'all make me greater.
Welcome back, everybody, to Independently Speaking Podcast. I'm your host, Glenn Mayo. Independently Speaking Podcast is brought to you by IndependentHoops.com, nationally recognized scouting service, event hosting company. Kind of got their hands in basketball, football, a little bit of everything. And, man, it's an exciting time right now for us. NBA basketball season just started back up. You got your, Golden State Warriors still looking, in true dynasty form. And you got to love what you see out of the young guys with Tatum and with Brown over at the Celtics, managing to start the year off 1-0 without, their head coach, Ime. We got a really good guest I'm excited about today, someone that knows a ton about the game of basketball, someone that knows a ton about basketball in South Carolina in general. This episode is going to be our South Carolina high school preview. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and add in our guest, Coach Lance Gurley. Coach Lance is Big Shots South Carolina operations manager. Was the head coach of the Big Shots 17U Premier Team. Has been a good friend of mine, and much respect for him and his knowledge of the game and the players that he gets out here and gets a chance to see year in and year out. So, definitely I'm excited to have you on, Coach. Thanks for being on here with us.
Oh, most definitely. How everything going?
Oh, can't complain. I was just telling our listeners that's an exciting time. We got NBA basketball started back up. So I know everybody's kind of been waiting on that to get going, and you got Golden State still looking true to form out here, huh? They looked really good last night, right?
They look too good. I'm a Laker fan. Oh my
God. Man, they're so polished. I was talking with someone today, and I was telling them, they're very talented, obviously, but they're just so well coached. They run so much good stuff, and the guy counterbags like, man, they're just so unselfish as well, and I couldn't agree more. Because a lot of times it's not about what you're running or how much X's and O's if you ain't got those guys that like each other and want to share the ball and want to move it, it's gonna be rough.
Roll as well.
Absolutely. So we got Ja Morant. Memphis is on tonight, right?
Oh, most definitely.
I think they get rolling with their first game with the Knicks at home, so it'll be interesting to kind of see a South Carolina guy get out there and continue to kill. And, you got Middleton with the Bucks. And, I mean, it just, not even just basketball either. It seems like just football players, baseball players, a lot of quality athletes seem to come out of that state of South Carolina.
Yes, definitely. Got to mention Zion.
Got to.
Oh, yeah.
Got to. About to say, and it looks like he's got himself back in the right kind of shape and maybe even looks stronger. So I mean, man, it's going to be exciting for sure. I mean, I'm glad to have some NBA back and get that rolling. So to kind of just jump into things, Coach, I know you guys went to your fair share of events this summer with your premier team. I know that probably every live period you guys were out there. I know I personally recruited some players from you back when I was at the junior college level, from that premier team. So kind of, catch us up, man. Talk to us about that 2023 class and how the season went for you guys this summer.
We had an awesome group, man. We just had some guys that was go-getters. We took some unsigned seniors and added them onto our team. So our team kind of changed throughout the summer. We had Jabari Perry that went on to Catawba. Um, Kristen Ferguson that went on to Atlantic Cape. We got CJ Rich. That's his recruitment is coming along. And we got just a couple of guys, man, just waiting on their turn. JUCO. A lot of the things with JUCO is hurting us right now, especially the portal. So right now, a lot of our guys are just being patient. And, they understand the process.
Absolutely, absolutely. What so Jabari? Speaking of him, so I know you said he ended up Catawba. He had quite a few suitors after him, right? Like I was recruiting him some at the JUCO because he's a bigger kid and has good size to him. Tell us about his game and kind of how he's got a chance to make an immediate impact there at Catawba.
Whenever I talk about Jabari, I always start off with his character. Man. Kid is he's just an awesome kid. Great parents, great foundation, great size, like you spoke of, great length. Now that he's at Catawba, he's in their weightlifting system, and he's gotten bigger, got stronger. He's expected to have a small role this year, but he can play himself into a bigger role. It's more about the learning process, the learning curve this year, and I think he's going to be one of them kids that ultimately surprise some people.
Yeah, yeah. About to say and just kind of being out there this summer, I'm sure he was able to play a lot of the top guys. What were some of like the top events you guys attended this summer and some of the top teams that you guys may have either played or seen along the way?
We went to um, I forgot his first name, but McDonald down there with what's the name of his events? Oh man, don't make me lie. Dan McDonald events.
Yeah,
What's
Dan. Yeah, I was gonna say Dan. Yeah.
I forgot the name of the events that he throws, but we went down there. We went 3-1 while we was there. We played a couple good teams. One
Okay.
team crashed us. They definitely woke us up. Went down there, played a sloppy game, but ultimately it was good competition. Like I said, we went 3-1. We went to On the Radar, had some great events this summer. Um,
Hmm.
Definitely always a lot of competition there. We played in a lot of big shots events with us being a big shots team. So those is probably the three circuits. We didn't get a chance to go to hoop scene. We didn't get a chance to go over to you guys this year. I usually try to hit the icebreaker. That's a pretty good event from you guys that we able to attend. I think that'll be one that we're trying to look at for next year.
Hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, no, the icebreaker, it was good this year. I think, we had, one of the surprise teams out of North Carolina was, DB Elite, Dream Big Elite. They actually kind of put together a really nice program and made a good run. And then, everybody kind of makes their way to Augusta that weekend as a tune up, whether you're a shoe sponsor team or an independent, just because like you're going to get some good runs there, some good talent, some good bump, and the fact that like you said, it's right. It's in the same facility where they kind of do Peach Jam later in the summer, so you kind of get to introduce that to your guys a little bit early on and get them accustomed to it and get them a feel for it. So that event actually went really well, and I think Peach State. Is another one of those events that you guys usually come to. I don't think you guys made it this year, and I was telling you I was telling you all along. I think it actually ended up being probably one of the better peach states we've had in 5 to 10 years. Just with the representation of college coaches, actually having 100 plus coaches in the gym again, and we had I want to say it was 60 something, 70 something, just 17 U teams alone. And it was good, man. You got talent from all over, from Boston to Texas to Florida to everywhere, and so that was a good one, man. We definitely look forward to hopefully getting you guys back to like you said, the icebreaker this year, and Peach State and maybe a couple others as well. But I know you kind of touched on it there just a tad bit and kind of how it's had an effect on you guys a little bit. But let's talk about that transfer portal. and just exactly how you guys have seen that have a direct impact on you guys as a program and maybe other kids across the state.
Yeah, a lot of the coaches want to win now. They want them bigger, stronger, more experienced kids that know how to go to class and do all of the things that they're supposed to do that don't necessarily have or that have already experienced the freshman curve, the learning curve.
Right.
So, we dealing with it. We prepare a lot of our kids for it. We get a lot of rural area kids, so a lot of those kids, their recruitment kind of builds along with us. So they come in with no recruitment or maybe a small amount of schools that's tracking them. And as the summer go along, we're able to kind of continue to push them. We stay with them all through the high school season if we're not able to get them there throughout the summer. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just a process though, with the JUCO stuff that's going on. But we understand it, so it's no big. It's a big deal, but at the same time, I respect it. Those coaches trying to hold on to their jobs, but I do think they should get back to recruiting high school kids a little more. I think a lot of the college coaches are skipping out on opportunities to develop young men and on and off the court. And they say sometimes it's harder to change people who have already established habits. So like you get
Mm-hmm.
they're fresh, they're you. And maybe they don't pay off in year one, but maybe by year 2 and 3, you got them rolling in your system.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I love that quote there. And it makes a ton of sense. Like it's definitely, probably easier to teach a habit than it is to change a habit.
Yeah.
So I like that for sure. I about to say, and you guys, you especially, um, have a little bit of, you feel a little bit of an impact on the other side as well. Speaking from personal experience, someone like Trayvon Spillers, who you actually helped send to me when I was at USC Salk, and then now with me not being there has made the move to get in the portal and transfer, and kind of tell us about that situation and how you kind of, like you said, it wasn't just the summer playing when you stuck with them through the fall, maybe even attended the signing day if I remember correctly, and then even on through his freshman year after he had a great freshman year with me, and they had a college, a coaching change at the college, and you stuck with him and helped him find another spot.
Yeah, Trayvon is one of those special kids, man. Like, just playing in an area where he really wasn't getting that much attention. Like we told him, just be patient. You may have to go JUCO. He totally bought into it. He said, "Coach, I want to go JUCO. I want to go get better. I want to develop, get bigger, get stronger." He's one of those kids, man. I used to drive sometimes from Columbia to Charleston. Sometimes just because not just because of his talent level, but just because he's a good kid. And if his mom say, "I can't take him this weekend, but I give you the gas," or whatever the situation is, I'm gonna go get Trayvon because I mean he's worth going to get from a character standpoint. And I think, far as with JUCO, with him making the transition, from USC Salt, with them shutting down for the season to Moberly, he's actually starting to hear from some high level schools. He's heard recently from UNLV, um, and so I'm really expecting him to take off. Coaches are saying great things, and I would have to speak on one about my athletic director, Adonis Anderson, because he's the one that really places a lot of the kids, and a lot of these people really don't know how these kids get to certain schools, but man, he does the research. Know you remember Quentin Austin, not Quentin Austin.
Quentin Austin, Q. Yep.
Yeah, he has Quentin at a JUCO right now. Quentin is a former D1 kid. When everyone said it wasn't possible, he spoke with the coaches and they made a way, and he's playing right now at Southern Union, and he's a
Nice. In Alabama.
yeah.
Nice. Okay. Nice. I'm about to say, yeah, I remember he went to what was it, Mississippi Valley State, right? Out of high school.
Yeah.
Had a year or two there. Maybe one of them was a red shirt or something, but super, super athletic, man. I remember Jake Williams at Salk had brought him down on a visit, and man, we got excited.
Grown man. He was supposed to be a part of that class. When y'all had Vince and all of those guys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. could stretch the floor, and man, just so athletic, had a great body. Was definitely excited about him, and man, that's awesome to hear that. And that's what junior college is all about. I think that you got some people that maybe wasn't ready right away, or went through different coaching changes, or there's 1,000 reasons. And like you said, so many times they get wrote off, or they their window of opportunity is so small. But someone like you or Coach Adonis or something being able to reach back and pull those resources and set that up for him, man, that could change the course of his entire life.
Let me ask you this, Coach Mayo. Why do you think why do you think most people or a lot of people think that JUCO is only for kids with bad grades? Because that seems to be the thought process of when you're talking to these parents. Well, my kid ain't got bad grades, but your kid could go there and develop and increase his stock. Like,
Right.
but they don't think of it that way. And also, you're gonna save financially. I always think that not trying to put situations down, but sometimes I look at it and I be like, are you going to a school just to say that you signed, or are you actually going to a school where you're going to be able to potentially play? Like, there's some schools that are private that you may go $38,000, you know,
Right. Right.
and they're not giving you no athletic money. So, what are we doing here? Are you going to the best,
Absolutely.
or are you just going to a situation?
And I think a lot of it has to do with just lack of education, and especially on levels. I think a lot. The average, I would say honestly, Coach, the average basketball fan, and maybe even basketball junkie, I would venture to use that word, doesn't know what a high level D2 player looks like, or doesn't know what a low major plus mid major minus D1 guy looks like. Because you don't turn on ABC or Fox or something to see those teams. You don't see a Sun Belt team, on 7 p.m. On a Thursday night. You just don't. And so I think a lot of it just falls on lack of education, and then the changing of the guard. Like the growth of the game, so to speak. The same way the games changed in terms of how it's played with more threes being shot, and the traditional big playing a different type of role. It's also changed at the junior college level. It literally used to be when academic standards were the precedent, and that's where all the top guys that didn't have grades, that's where they went, was JUCO. But now, as you're seeing the transfer portal play a huge impact on recruitment, as you're seeing social media play a huge impact on recruitment, like the whole entire game is changing. Um, and so for what it once might have been, like if you were going to be talented enough to win, you had to take those guys that were either crazy and didn't have grades, or just didn't have grades. But now, there are plenty of guys that, like Trey, for instance, are Division I level talent, but you've got how many D1s are in South Carolina?
I think Wofford Presbyterian, South Carolina, Upstate, Clemson, Coastal,
Charleston.
Southern, College of Charleston.
So I mean, over a handful. I mean, right there under 10. You know what I mean? And not one of them offered him. And now he's got UNLV, a legit mid major, maybe even a high major minus, coming in there to offer him. And so it just goes to show, man, like, you've got these schools, in South Carolina, like you said, man, you got to respect that they want to win now. They want to get older kids. They want to get, like I'm seeing it all the time now. You're getting kids that are fifth year seniors, or you're getting, third and fourth year guys that are transferring from low and mid major levels to high levels, but you're transferring to play like what used to be a freshman's role. You know what I mean? The 8 to 15 minutes a game and this and that. But these schools are saying, like, Auburn and, schools like that are saying, well, why get a freshman to play that 8 to 15-minute role when I can get a 25-year-old or 24-year-old kid, you know what I mean, to come in here and do the exact same thing? It just doesn't make sense. So it's definitely a changing of the game. You know what I mean? Nowadays, a junior college coach can go out there and find, and I want to say Trey Spurs had like a 3.8 GPA. maybe even higher. Legit 6'7", 6'8", lefty that could stretch the floor a little bit. I think when we played Northwest Florida, who went on to win the national championship that year, he had, a double double as a freshman. That this is like our third game of the year. So, man, I just think that's why I think parents are a little misinformed, a little misguided. There's a lack of education there on how the levels is worked, and then the people that maybe went through it 20 years ago, or know about the process or something, don't really realize, like, I mean, it's changing now. You know what I mean? Like this transfer portal, social media, that stuff has really changed the game.
It's crazy that these kids get beat up for going JUCO. If they say that they're going JUCO, they all of a sudden they're questioned, like, why are you going there? Like, you're too good to go there. They put all these like toxic thoughts in these kids' heads, man. Like, it's just weird. Like, I know a kid, just not to get too far off topic, man. Kid had multiple D2 offers, and he was advised to go JUCO when he was really not a JUCO type kid, so he wasn't able to improve his level of stop. He may have potentially fallen a little bit as far as how he's perceived as a player. So it's like people think it's easy to go JUCO, man. It's definitely not. And I think some of these kids that are not mentally built for JUCO, that are thinking it's all fun and games when they do go, they're finding
Right.
out quick. Coach to get rid of.
Absolutely. It's and especially at that level, man, when the resources are so scarce, from having the proper help around you, having a full complete staff, or even transferred into the admissions office, and the front office is just having enough personnel on hand to handle the financial aid and the admissions and the tutoring and stuff like that. When you're dealing with a junior college, or any small college, Division II, Division III, NAIA, Christian schools, it's a different beast, man. You really got to love it. You really got to want it. If you don't, you're going to face too much adversity to see it all the way through. You're going to want to just go on and do something else. And so that's what but I also think it's what helps shape these kids' lives. You know what I mean? If they can kind of get in a situation like that, where a lot of times for them it's their first time away from home. A lot of times it's the first time where you're having to work this to that extreme, where you're lifting weights every day and practicing every day and study hall every day. And so and then on top of it, you're not eating the best meals, you're not doing this, you're not, so it just,
Yeah.
I remember, like, I mean, especially when I was at Salk, and I loved the place to death, and it definitely made me who I was. But I remember, there were times, like, after, we would have a recruit come on a visit with his parents or something, and you're looking the parents eye to eye, and you're promising them, everything, that how hard you're going to work for them, essentially. But then when they leave, you think about, man, like, man, would you want to live in these apartments? Would you want to go to a school that didn't have a cafeteria? Would you want to play where you didn't have a scholarship? So it's tough, man. But at the same time, like I said, I think it shapes these kids. It makes them hungry. If they're able to make it through this and make it through that, it shows them that, hey, man, I can do anything in life. So, 100%, I recommend junior college.
That's true. I completely agree.
What what were your thoughts on the NIL? I know that's kind of still being figured out, and everybody's kind of got an opinion on it. But I see now, like, in certain states, they're allowing high school kids to accept NIL deals, and obviously it's started in the college level as well. You're seeing it, with college football now. Some of these dudes are millionaires out there on the field.
Yeah.
So, kind of, how do you think that's impacting recruitment, or just the game in general?
I see it on like a lot of levels. I see it as positive for the athletes. Of course, anytime you could put money in your pocket, before without actually having to be professional or go professional, that's gonna be a good thing. But then I also think it's changing the passion of the game, like, because there's some people that's just chasing a paycheck. And that's, I don't know, just growing up as a kid that loves sports, that's not always how it has been. Like usually the passion leads to the paycheck, not you get the paycheck before you even have true passion for the game. So it's like, I definitely would like to see it figured out. I mean, you gotta look at some schools that have, you know, like great alumni that can put a lot of money into these kids' pockets. Or, you got some schools like USC that's creating a whole NLI department. Like, which is great for the student athletes. I think the women's team, I think everybody on their team got $25,000 or
Yeah.
something along those lines. So I think it's good and bad. I can see the pros and cons, but hopefully over time, it becomes a little better to eventually where it works out in the best interest of everybody.
No, absolutely, and I think it will. Because like you said, man, it's long overdue, and it is a good idea for the guys because you hate to see those guys get injured or something like that and never end up seeing their payday or like you said, you got a lot of money being made for universities that these athletes don't really get to see.
Yeah,
So I think it could be good.
I'm saying like some of these kids are holding schools hostage with the NLI though. That's the part that I say like it's tricky because like if I really like your school, but I'm saying if you can't get me enough money, I'm not gonna go there. Like what's that about? Or I'm at your school and I perform well that year and you can't get me a big NLI check, I'm a transfer. Like to me that's I don't know. It just doesn't sit right with my spirit.
Right, right, and I think a lot of it's like anything else, man. You're always gonna have people that use it the right way and then use it for evil. Whether it be the coaches that are using it with the way they recruit, or it be the players that are holding schools hostage. So it's definitely got to be monitored. It's gonna have to be figured out over the next few years. There's got to be a system. Same way with the transfer portal, man. We can't just leave it open like the Wild Wild West like it is now. Um,
Do you
I honestly think something like, you know, putting a max on how many transfers a school can take each year would eventually have a trickle down effect on it because less kids are going to be jumping in the transfer portal if they know only a school can only take two transfers a year, two three transfers a year. They're less they're at least going to think twice about it. And then these high school coaches, you only got to sign two to three, sometimes four or five a year. But if you give them a max, then that's going to make them sign some high school kids. That's going to, make, and then I think it just gives a good balance. You got your transfers, you got your high school, everybody's winning, everybody's still, doesn't set anybody back 10 years, if
do you
that
think
makes sense.
go away from the 1 year, like one time transfer rule where you're
Yeah.
away?
I mean, like, I didn't like the rule where if you transferred, you had to sit out because, like, I mean, now you're just punishing. Like, if you're gonna let them transfer, let them transfer. If you're not gonna let them transfer, then don't let them transfer. But don't try to put a punishment because I just didn't understand. I mean, you got to sit out for a year, you got to lose a year. Like, I mean,
But
I feel honestly it's going to come down to there's gonna have to be something put on the schools, the institutions itself, because I mean the NCAA is not going to be able to you know monitor or control if a kid leaves or not, but they can monitor and control what a member institution accepts or allows each year. You know what I mean? So I think that's where we got to start if you're going to see any type of change.
but do you think that has led to more like will the kid know that he's gonna be instantly eligible? Do you think that has led to more transfers?
I think it definitely has because it's also with these coaches, it's also that gave them it got them off the cliff. Like before, they might have been like, well, I don't want to force this kid out, so to speak. Because then he's gonna have to sit out a year. Well, now they know he could just transfer and leave. So if we can recruit over you, by all means, we're going to do it. So I think it definitely is. And then the same thing for the kids. If they don't have to think about whether they've got to sit out or not or be punished for something. But again, like I think just having a broad rule, like if you sit out, you got to if you transfer, you got to sit out. just does a big injustice because like everybody's got their own reason for transferring. Um, and so if you try to use one broad thing to cover everybody, I think it gets a little tricky.
Okay, that makes sense.
Um, but it definitely is interesting, kind of seeing this all play out. Like we're watching live sports right now. You know what I mean? We're watching it live time right now. We're going through it, and you see some of these schools making the most of it for sure. Baylor winning it with a starting lineup of all transfers. Auburn was really good last year with all transfers, and so it's and when I was at Salk, you know me, like Trey was. I think that year I took 3 freshmen, and the other 9 were transfers. So I get it for sure, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I guess looking into we got high school season coming up next month. Um, I'm definitely excited about, like I said, the basketball in the state of South Carolina, who are let's start nationally. Before we get to, I guess, publicly, or however you want to call it. But who would you say are the top teams in the state that maybe either already play a national schedule or are going to this year, or maybe going to get some national buzz going into the season?
Well, no one in South Carolina outside of Legacy, I think, plays a national schedule. I think Gray Collegiate, travels a lot, and they play in a lot of the top tournaments. So those two will definitely be two of the top 2 teams that you begin speaking with, speaking of, and they're both loaded. Gray Collegiate is poised to make another state championship run. Um, they have what, two, three, six, seven, 3 kids, 6, 7 or better. They're in the 2A division. One of the kids I think Duke was just reached out to Coach Bethea about him, the Trey Maddox kid. I think
Trey
his dad
Maddox.
coach at Benedict. But I mean, they definitely just top to bottom, like every
Is,
kid.
is his son a freshman?
Yeah, I think he's 2025. Or
2025.
yeah, he maybe I'm not certain of what year he is, but he's he's one of the top kids for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I Man, huge. First of all, huge shout out to Coach Dion over there, Coach Bethea. I mean, it just seems like year in and year out, they're going to be ready to compete at a high level, and he gets them to play hard, and he kind of gets after them a little bit. I mean, I love all of that. So, definitely a shout out to them, and then Coach BJ, like you mentioned over there at Legacy. I mean, um, great spot there, man. Like I've took a couple of their players in the past, and just what the school of Legacy does for those kids. Like when they go to college, like every kid that goes to college gets a scholarship where they're every semester they're getting some type of money through the
Wow,
school, and you know what I mean. They're just well prepared, ready to go when they come to us. Because I mean, I took a couple of their girls players, I took a couple of their guys players. When I was on different sides, and I think they actually just got the kid
a lot.
Elijah, yep, from Augusta, got him coming in, and I know they got a talented team every year, so that'll be definitely good to follow them a little bit. Who not to get you kind of making any predictions or anything, but who else are some of the other teams, kind of maybe in each division, each classification that you're excited to see this year?
Well, I'll just name a couple of teams. I know Wilson for sure
Mhm, mhm.
poised to make another run to the state championship. Coach Powell has done a phenomenal job with them. They always play hard. Coaching staff is basically from the area, so a lot of the kids have been knowing the coaches from since they've been at rec ball. So it's just a different type of relationship when it comes down to it. And I look at their coaching staff; it's like a brotherhood. Like, they're able to get on each other. They hang with each other. They do a lot of things. for me, when I look at them, it's bigger than basketball. The influence and impact that they're having on their kids. Um, a lot of people are interested to see what Ridgeview does this year with Coach Staley coming over. They lost one or two pieces as far as two kids that transferred out. Of course, Gigi went on to USC, but they got some awesome young kids, man. And they're definitely going to make some noise because I'm pretty sure he's going to have them playing the right way. Um, and I'm looking at maybe Lexington. They got a couple young pieces on that team as well. The two-way level, I think, is going to be bananas this year. Like you got Gray Collegiate, Keenan, Oceanside Collegiate. All of those teams are stacked. We'll be interested to see with Jordan Simpson departure to South Carolina State. You know what OW does, but they got two brothers that's there that's phenomenal defensively and just great decision makers as well. So I think he has a young kid. He played with the Upper Stars Columbia program this year on the 16U. He's super athletic. He about 6'6". I wouldn't be surprised to see him get offered at some point over next summer. And he's definitely come a long way since the first time I seen him. So there's just a couple of teams that I know of. 1A basketball, of course, they had a couple of teams that dropped down, so they're going to be very competitive in that field. But I'd be interested to see what Great Falls does because they got a six
Mm-hmm.
on their coach son, kind of running the show along with some other good guards. You got Lancaster in the 4A, just a hard nosed team. They take the identity of their coach, and they're just. I mean, he has probably like five guards that just can go.
Yeah.
One, I think, is on the Upper Star Southeast program, or with the Upper Star Southeast program. Jordan Watkins, I think, is his name.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's been on a visit to Tennessee and to USC of late. He's 2025. So they got a lot of things in the works. A lot of, and then you got other teams, and you just be interested to see what they do this year. Like we got teams like from my area, the PD area, Marion, that has a lot of football kids, um, but they're very good in basketball as well. And so we can see if they can make it to the third round and make some noise potentially. Mullins has a very good, solid team. We'll just see. It's just that two-way. It's just so loaded, man. You got Kingstree that just recently had two schools that combined. So they're expected to make some noise as well.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely. I think like it's to be so small, man. Like it's diverse, man. It's spread out. Kind of each class has two or three schools that are capable of beating anybody. And like you said, it's definitely top heavy. A lot of people think it might just be a football state, but man, just athletes in general. South Carolina is loaded with athletes, loaded with athletes.
you say this too because I know I get killed if you don't mention Dorman in South Carolina. Dorman,
About to say that's that they every year they're gonna get some national noise, and I want to say they played in that Geico deal recently, and so kind of interesting take about South Carolina is you guys have some of the top high school tournaments in the country. You know what I mean? I'm not going to include, Peach Jam, in the summer, even though that's North Augusta, South Carolina. But when you just look at a couple like the legendary events, like the Beach Ball Classic that they do in Myrtle Beach, and then the Chick-fil-A Classic in Columbia, and the Bojangles deal. Kind of, what do you think, about these national level events being held in your state, and the impact that it has? Being able to kind of watch, teams like, you got ball, beach ball, you got Roman Catholic and Tampa Catholic and Durango and Dorman and Socrates, the all around. And, um, Chick-fil-A every year is probably going to your Oak Hills and Wheelers and IMGs and, Keenan and Lexington. So how does that, how does that kind of play into everything that you guys got going on?
I always think it's a good deal. Like a lot of people, like you said, don't recognize the level of basketball here in South Carolina. They consider us a football state. We're just a football state that continues to send some of the top basketball kids, to the Division I colleges and on to maybe the NBA. Um, and so it's just one of those situations where we are perceived one way and we're trying to change that perception. And I think a lot of times when you bring in these national teams and you pit them versus some of the, powerhouses that's in state, and you get good matchups and you get kids that are exposed to either a higher level of basketball or they're exposed to new media outlets that wasn't watching them before, which potentially gets some rank nationally or gets a great collegiate recognized even more so than what they already are. It takes them from just not just the southeastern area to potentially you know the northeast, Midwest or wherever, however the teams that they're playing against are coming from. So I love that they're the basketball people here in South Carolina. I don't know all the movers and shakers, but those guys do a great job of putting these tournaments together and showcasing South Carolina basketball.
No, absolutely. No, it's good. I try to get down every year and cover it, from when I was coaching to now doing this. Like, just you won't find probably a better collection of talent from across the country. You know what I mean? And it's real spread out, and like I said, it's just loaded from top to bottom. You can find some players there for sure. Um, but I know we're coming up here, in 45 minutes. I don't want to keep you too long, but I would be, remiss if I didn't talk about, the USC Gamecocks. I know they just got, new head coach and Coach Lamont Paris. I know that, they got, one of the best players in the country to stay in his backyard, Gigi Jackson. So kind of talk to us about that, being a South Carolina resident, being a basketball junkie from that state. What are you expecting out of the Gamecocks this year one, and how do you see that all playing out?
Well, I was looking at their schedule and I was saying to myself, like, these guys may go undefeated for a while, just looking at the level of the schedule, looking at some of the teams. I'm not saying it's a soft schedule, but just saying like they could really run the table for a while. I think with Gigi coming in, just the level of excitement it brings to the state, Coach Martin is one of my guys. I love him to death. Him and Coach Steele. I think they did a great job as well while they was there. Um, but I think this new coaching staff, they're coming in, they're building connections throughout the state. They already have locked up a couple of kids in the 2023 class that played with the Upward Star Southeast program. Two of the top kids in the state, and with great size on them. I think they locked up two kids, about 6'7", 6'8". That's going to be a load. Not only do they have Gigi, man, they have this kid Michi, man, like that transferred from Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
He's a load, and I mean, we had a guy, Zachary Davis, went to a small 1A school out there in the country, and um, Coach Martin and them, his staff had offered him. He's 6'8", kind of like a guard forward. And he's doing, very well there. I heard one of the coaches was speaking to me about him recently, saying that, man, at first he came in, he struggled as most freshmen do, but since then, he's embraced the work and he's coming along, and he may potentially play himself into, the rotation. I think I read an article where Coach Parrish said, he's, he loves what Zach is doing now, but he's like he's prepared for Zach to, if his development continues to progress. Man, he wants to see Zach in probably about January when he's totally hitting the ground and running at all cylinders. So like I love what USC has. Like a lot of people are doubting them, but we gonna see.
About to say they definitely got the talent, man, and I love Lamont and what the energy he brings to how he kind of approaches things. So I think it should be pretty good, and it's definitely be exciting to watch. I'll have to get out there and see some of it. But I definitely appreciate you jumping on here with us, Coach. I know we're in store for some big things this year with the season getting started next month, and I kind of can't wait to get out and like you said, see a bunch of the schools we mentioned. You know what I mean, the Wilsons and the Oceanside Collegians and Keenan, and you know what I mean. See, kind of how everybody's going to fare, how everybody's shaping up, and I'm sure we'll cross paths out there again soon too.
Definitely, man. I appreciate you having me on. I just want to give you a shout out for the time that you take to cover. Like you go to other basketball events and cover some of the independent teams that come to your event, or just cover independent teams in period. And I think that spotlight that you guys put on smaller organizations, or organizations that are competing with some of the top tier teams that we don't normally hear about, that you guys showcase. I think you guys are doing a great job, man. I definitely appreciate you.
No, absolutely, absolutely, Coach. We enjoy getting out to other people's events too, because I mean, we got to have a credibility when it comes to our scouting service, that we kind of got out here and saw a bunch of different people and seen everybody. So it is definitely fun, and you make these relationships along the way, and it ends up paying off in the long run. So again, thank you. And like I said, we'll be crossing paths soon. All right, Coach?
All right.
All right, take care.
Thanks.
My motivator. Y'all make me greater. Yeah. When you walk in the room, them haters, they gon' be watching you to the left and the right.